Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Scott Week. And I have one of my all-time favorite people on today, Chef Gary Mclean. Gary, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Good, yeah, good. Just recovering, just back from New York. So it was just great getting out and seeing people in the flesh for the first time, including yourself, Cindy. It was lovely to spend some time with you in New York. It was great.
It was, and it was a recovery coming back. I felt like I needed to check myself into the Betty Ford clinic. I'll go for at least 30 days.
New York does that to you.
Yes, which we're all not used to. But I'm so excited to have you back on, and you are truly a fan favorite of our audiences. And, you had last year in 2021, for Scott Week, we did virtually on a software platform. You had the most viewership of any.
Oh, really? I don't know if it's me. I think it's food. I think food, and particularly Scottish food, has got a real draw. And I did notice that myself was when I was doing live stuff all the time. I was doing stuff just impromptu. And anytime I did anything Scottish at all, viewing figures and interaction was 3 times more than anything else. And being honest, that's what inspired a lot of my lockdown journey, was the dare I say it, the shock of the interest of people in Scottish food. And obviously a lot of the Scottish stuff I do is in the US, but I was amazed that people in Glasgow were interested in their own history and culture and where did their food come from, which inevitably inspired me to pen another book.
Well, and so I am so thrilled and honored that when we were in New York, you brought to me this book right here.
Your very early copy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, really?
Very early. So it's not actually out until next week. So
wow.
There was a few copies got released. So I brought a couple over. So I'm glad you liked it.
Oh, I've been reading through it. It is just a joy. And it's a joy just to look at the pictures. I'll show a little bit of that if that's okay. Let's talk a little bit about this book. And just to let our viewers know, if you have never met Gary before or tuned into our interviews with Gary, Gary is an award-winning master chef. And do you want to tell the audience which show you went on and won?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I went and did a show called MasterChef, The Professionals. So it's pretty much the same show that my fellow Glaswegian Gordon Ramsay hosts in the US, but in the UK, we have 3 different types. So we have the amateur, which Gordon does in the US. We have the celebrity one. I don't know if that's reached you yet. I'm sure it'd be great over there. But we also do the professional one. So it's dubbed the cruelest reality show ever, because you've got people who do what they do for a living, going in front of millions of people on TV and getting put under some real pressure. So I went and was lucky enough to win that show, BBC MasterChef, The Professionals.
Well, and do you know, is it available online to watch?
There's certainly bits and bobs of it on YouTube. Over here, it's actually on Netflix. So if you can access, I know there's some clever people out there, if you can access UK Netflix, it's on there. I think on Netflix, it's season 1, MasterChef Professionals. So anyone that knows how to do that. And also in the UK, it's on BBC iPlayer as well. So there's still access.
That's wonderful. So I'm going to go and find those links. I'm going to put as much as I can find in the description here so people can watch that. I'm certainly going to be watching that later today, just because I think it's going to be so much fun after getting to know you a little bit better. And I know Nicola Sturgeon actually kind of dubbed you Scotland's national chef, and maybe that's, I don't know if that's official, unofficial, but I certainly agree with her. And
yeah, well, it's very official. It's a government post, a voluntary post, and my role in that is to help the Scottish government with their ambitions to become what's called a good food nation. So there's a bill going through that fundamentally means that everything we do with food should be good. Everything we do in education with food should be strong and linked to Scotland. So I've been Scotland's national chef for about 5 years, and I spend the majority of that time supporting young people learning to cook, and also supporting people who would not normally have much food to eat, to help them. So anyone that's sort of struggling with food banks and that sort of stuff, I help out with. So it's a probably the favourite, much as I do travel and TV and things like that, working with people and showing them how easy it is to cook is probably my favourite part of my job.
Oh my goodness. Well, that just makes me like you even more if I didn't already like you enough. That's fantastic. And what a great book you have here. And I think it's so relevant too, because we just went through the pandemic, we're recovering, and a lot of people, including myself, started cooking again.
Yeah.
At home and spending more time at home with their families. And I think what a great way then to get everyone in the kitchen and in the evening and just kind of decompress and enjoy cooking food together. And that's certainly something I raised my kids in the kitchen, cooking a lot, and they all love to cook. And I'm certainly nowhere near your capabilities, but I just know that it's a great gathering around food is such a wonderful thing, whether you're with friends or family. It's a love language of sorts.
And it's looking at food differently, because a lot of people are busy. A lot of people are commuting. A lot of people are stuck in their car a long time. They're stuck in the office. But what I think the pandemic has done, it's almost given us a generational change within a couple of years, because people did have the time. People are now still working from home a lot. So there's no excuse why you can't stick something in the oven at 2 o'clock and put it on a really low 200-degree braise or anything like that, and keep an eye on it as you're working away. So the old excuses of I don't have time are over. And then when you look at the amount of technology that we've got in terms of video tutorials and YouTube and all the websites that offer amazing recipes, there's no excuse for people not to just dedicate a little bit of that grey matter into providing their families and providing themselves with something amazing to eat.
Yes, and also I think very much more nutritious, and you can control salt contents and fat contents and kind of tailor make what your needs of your family might be. I am especially excited about this book right here. And for all of those of you, there's some of us in the world who like to collect cookbooks. Whether you like to collect cookbooks or not, this is a must-have, must-read. I mean, this is not something that you could find online really and go find maybe these recipes, but this is a treasure. It's not just recipes. And what I really wanted to point out is just there are so many beautiful pictures and illustrations throughout the book, but mostly pictures of the food. And it's just truly a work of art. So I wanted people to kind of see that. But I also really enjoy just reading the little anecdotes and about your personal experiences with these dishes and where they come from. And I found that truly fascinating, and I get to know you more just by reading these. I was especially intrigued with the steak pie. I don't know if you can remember, but you're talking about in your house, hogmanay just wouldn't be the same without steak pie. Your family traditions state that you eat steak pie just before the bells on hogmanay. And I remember you say often racing home from a busy New Year's Eve in the restaurant so you can make it to your mother-in-law's in enough time to sit down to have this traditional feast. And most years you were a little late, but fast forward a few years, you teamed up with the biggest pie maker in Scotland, Bell's, and collaborated with them on their hogmanay pies. As a result, you say your ugly mug, which I just adorns thousands of pies every New Year's Eve. So,
and it's tens of thousands of pies where my ugly mug is on. So it's and it is kind of strange, because that story's so true, and there was a lot of pressure to get home for the bells, and everyone's the same. Obviously, everybody wants to, but the other important thing is for me is I couldn't be the first footer. So anyone that doesn't know the first footer tradition, the first footer on hogmanay and when the bells strike 12. Has to be tall, dark, and handsome. So they have to have a lump of coal and they have to have a bottle of whiskey, and they chat the door just after the bells. I'm not tall, and I'm certainly not dark. or overly handsome. So I would have been deemed as kind of bad luck for the year chap in the door. So it was important I get in before the bells and let some other taller, more handsome person chap be the first booter.
I beg to differ, and I'm sure that your lovely wife would as well. That's not true at all. So no.
But it's amazing that the history of food, the story of food fascinates me. And no matter where you've come from or what your culture is, there's a story to everything that you eat, everything that, you know, your mum made you, your granny made you, or even going further back has got an amazing story. And it's all to do with geography and weather and poverty and all these other things. And it's so intertwined in history. And I just love the historical facts of, and I try not to go into too much detail because a lot of it's kind of hearsay and things like that. But I just love the kind of, why do we eat what we eat? You know, why do we do what we do? It's kind of very, very interesting. And particularly when it comes to Scottish food, because, you know, I wanted to write a Scottish book that not only celebrated their traditions and their traditional food, but also wanted to talk about the food I grew up with. You know, I wanted to talk about, and Scotland is an absolute melting pot of people, and food changes because of that. I mean, some of the best Indian food in the world is in Scotland. Without a doubt, you know, there's 100 Indian restaurants in Scotland for every one Scottish restaurant. So there's a little bit of that kind of multicultural mix as well. And what I've done is I've taken haggis, which is the most Scottish thing ever, and turned that into lots and lots of different kind of worldly cuisines because it's so versatile.
You read my mind. I had turned already. I was going to talk a little bit about that, but here you make it look beautiful and like really yummy, and I want to eat it right now. And of course, not all haggis is made equal.
Well, the other thing as well, and I've got a full page on haggis. Chefs don't make haggis. You know, that's the bottom line. We don't make haggis. Butchers make haggis, and chefs buy it, heat it up, and steal the glory. And I'll be honest, for the book was the first time I'd ever made haggis. And I had to make it in such a way that it could be done at home, and it could be done at home in the US and Canada as well. So I'm being careful about the ingredients and stuff that you get. But I kid you not, the haggis I made, I reckon it's the best haggis I've ever tasted.
Oh,
and I'm the most critical person ever. But I reckon it's the best haggis I've ever tasted, and I've only did it once. And I apologise to my Scottish butchers that are out there doing it for a living. But I just, and maybe it was a surprise. But again, a big part of the book was again, I travel the States a lot, and I work with a lot of American chefs, and I do a lot of Scottish dinners and stuff like that. And what I wanted to do was to write a book that could be the beginnings of a dinner that I do. So if I've got a dinner in New York, I can send the book to the chef. He's got a picture, he's got a recipe and an understanding of what the dish is about. And that was the idea behind that, was so that, because again, when you travel and you go and have a Scottish breakfast somewhere, and you look at potato scones that are 3 inches tall, you know, it's because it's just because the chef's never done it before. So I wanted to try things like that. You know, I've got Scotch pie that you normally get at the football, and again, it was a thing I had to find out how to make, because in Scotland you would never have to make a Scotch pie, because again, it's a butcher and a baker that would make it. So, you know, I had to figure out how to make it, because my thoughts were that, you know, this book's going to sell well in the US. There's a lot of American Scots out there that want to find the recipes that work for them. And so I had to figure that out. There's a lot of things in the book that I thought I would never be able to put in the book either, down to the fact that you can order things online. So I've got homemade black pudding, you know, and the thought of someone having to find blood and everything else to make black pudding is just bonkers for a cookery book that's set for the house. But you can actually buy everything for that on Amazon.
Yeah.
So
here,
you can,
I had a little bookmark in it to show everyone. There it is.
So you can buy the skins, you can buy dried blood. It's oatmeal and onions, and really, really simple thing to make. Costs you about $20 from Amazon to get all the ingredients, and it really just gets mixed together with milk, pushed into a synthetic skin, and you poach it. And again, it'll be nothing like you've ever tasted in the US in terms of black pudding. It will be really close to being a Scottish black pudding.
Can you come to my kitchen and teach me how to make it?
Certainly. Honestly, it's a brilliant thing. And again, chefs don't normally make it. I started making black pudding because I did competitions with students. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if we could get a young chef in a competition making black pudding? So we figured it out. And again, I've got butcher friends and stuff like that. And they helped us out with telling me that things like dried blood even existed. So you don't know that as a chef, to be fair. And so figured out a decent recipe that worked. And as I was writing the book, I would always double check that you can get the ingredients. And things like the Scotch pies, for instance, again, you need a mold, but you can buy the mold online. So it's really, really accessible. Even things like the Ayrshire shortbread that comes in the molds, you can still buy them online, you know, so it's not exclusively to Scotland. So everything in there is doable. Everything's there. And again, just from my teaching background, I've been an educator for over 20 years. I write recipes that are a tutorial. So, and again, I don't want to sound like a teacher, but it's like going in for an exam. You read the whole page first. Okay. And then start at the beginning, because your brain works on the next steps. So if you look at one of my recipes, it's probably 5 times the amount of words as any other recipe you've probably ever seen for a similar thing. It's because I'm giving a full description of what you're doing, when you're doing it, what can go wrong. And there might even be a wee story in there about how I used to do it wrong, and this is how I fixed it and made it quicker and all that. So there's always a good story within the recipe as well.
It is, and really your little anecdotes at the top too, they just endear you to these recipes and where they come from. And I feel like, you know, there's a lot of Americans who are just absolutely in love with the romanticism of Scotland anyway. Yeah. And so just having these recipes, knowing where they come from, and then trying to make them in our own kitchen. And really what I want to do, I hope this is okay. So once a month for our Scot Week YouTube channel, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make one of these. And if you have time to jump on and kind of be there with me and walk me through it, great. If you don't, because I know you're very, very busy, that's fine too.
No, that'd be amazing.
Do it. I'm going to order the ingredients, have everything ready to go. I'm going to be here in my kitchen and I'm going to show people how easy it is, and we'll go through each one. And I think that's because it's going to be so much fun.
The other thing that's quite unusual about this book, in fact, very unusual for this book, that it's got American weights and measures on every recipe.
I noticed
that doesn't happen from a European book. So it is, and again, that's through my last book selling really well in the States. And when I meet the people that buy it, and then you talk about metric, you know, you get the blank face. So I thought it was important that the book was written for an American audience. There's also a little page on the back that kind of changes the words, because there's a few words in food and food cookery that is different in the US as in the UK. So I've got that little I don't know what you would call that, a little glossary of Scottish words or British words that translate into American. So
that's fantastic. And you have the conversion charts. And I know from just doing different recipes from Denmark, from old family recipes, things like that, you constantly have to go onto Google and
to work it.
Yeah. What is this metric equaling?
Yeah, you shouldn't have to Google that. Every recipe should work straight from the page.
Here's the glossary that you were talking about. I think that's fascinating. I didn't quite make it to the end yet. I'm just been working my way through, and it truly is such a joy just to sit down and read. I feel like you get a feel for the culture and of Scotland. There's different pictures of different places in Scotland here, as well as all of the food. And, you know, you were talking a little bit about earlier, you know, that a lot of times, you know, the food and the recipes came from just depending upon people's economic situations. And from what I understand from Haggis came about, I don't know how long ago, how many hundreds of years, but because the Scottish people weren't allowed to eat the muscle part of the meat, and they
Yeah.
had to take sort of the giblets and do the best they could with it.
Yeah. The word haggis is actually older than the word Scotland.
Oh,
So it is. So it's actually, there's lots of different stories. They reckon it came from Scandinavia. So it came in with very, very early settlers from Scandinavia to Scotland. The first mention of a recipe of haggis is actually in a very, very, very early English cookbook, where they reference haggis for the first time. But you'll find that most cultures, you know, whether it's Europe or Africa or Asia, they all have a very, very similar type of dish. And I think through media and through bagpipes and kilts and stuff like that, haggis has been one of those dishes. And obviously Robert Burns has a lot to answer for the survival of haggis, because it's been ingrained in our culture, so haggis is probably more popular now in Scotland than it's ever been in its whole history. And that's because we're embracing our heritage and our culture. And for the record, I absolutely love haggis. When I was in New York, I did a day at the Culinary Institute of New York, and I had a taster of real Scottish haggis for the students. And it was amazing, some of the feedback that we got, because some of them had never heard of it before. But as soon as you start talking about like Willie the Janny from The Simpsons, and he mentions it now and again, or that sort of thing, they sort of get a little tune of what it is. And most of them liked it, which was good to see. So, and there's not a lot of young American students who've tasted real haggis, from Scotland. So it was just nice. It was just nice seeing what their thoughts were on it.
With how they liked it. That's fantastic. I think one of the first times I had it actually in Scotland, I was over to a private home. This would have been going back maybe 25 years, 30 years. And they actually had put it into a Cornish game hen. And it was really nice that way. And so I do that still to this day. But I buy
chicken Balmoral. So that's kind of Balmoral style.
Oh wow!
I think the thing is with haggis, it's beautifully seasoned. So and it's moist and it's fatty and it's got beautiful texture. So anything you put it with, it actually improves things. So I mean, chicken breast or guinea fowl or anything like that, it does need a lift. It does need an injection of flavour, and haggis does it. In the book, I've got Haggis Sliders, and I've been doing Haggis Sliders for years. Ooh. And it's ground beef, 50% ground beef, 50% haggis, and fundamentally just mix it together and pan fry it. And if you were to serve that at a barbecue or serve it to anyone, they wouldn't know there was haggis in it, but what they would know is it's the most tastiest, moist burger they'd ever had. And it's the haggis that's doing all the work. It's that combination of the fat and the onions and the black pepper that's in there that just carries all the way through. My perfect burger is a haggis burger. It's an amazing thing to have.
Oh, we must make that. So I suppose first we'll make haggis, and then we'll make the haggis sliders, because we'll do the haggis for the haggis sliders. So maybe that'll be one that we could do like that. How very wonderful. And I can't wait to try your haggis recipe. I always, and this is a tip for Americans here, this is the best thing to do, because again, nobody knows exactly what it is. All they know is it's the best tasting, for me, dressing or stuffing in the turkey. I always put haggis.
Oh, do you? Oh, that's
my turkey.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Serving in Christmas every year.
And no one really knows what it is.
No, they all rave about it, and I don't tell them if they've never had it before, because we tend to have a lot of people come. I don't tell them about it. I let them try it first, and I let them tell me how much they really enjoy it and love the flavor. Then I tell them what it is, because if I tell them ahead of time, sometimes they won't want to try it. But it truly is amazing, and you can put it in a regular, dressing recipe of, breadcrumbs and just onions, and or shallots, and I use some celery, and that's all. I let the haggis take center stage, and it's
one of the best things actually that I've found in the US that's the closest thing to haggis. There is some very good butchers that do haggis. I think there's one in Chicago that's really good. But there's a thing, McSween's do a vegetable crumble. And that's their, basically they call it as veggie haggis over here, and in the States it's veggie crumble. And it is so close to McSween's normal haggis, it's unbelievable. So it's worth looking out, and you can get that all over the States. So if you see McSween's vegetable crumble, pick one up, because they're really, really tasty, and you can do everything with that you do with normal Scottish haggis.
wow, that sounds amazing. I'm gonna have to get some of that. So I have it. Oh, I cannot forget to talk about. So this is a fun book. So for all of you Outlander fans out there, who wrote the foreword in your book?
Exactly. Sam Heughan.
Sam Heughan. Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. Have you been in the kitchen cooking with Sam Heughan?
No, but I definitely owe him some dinner. Definitely. So Sam, if you're watching, I owe you some dinner. So if you're looking for that special event, let me know. But no, I haven't, and I know he likes his food. But again, Sam, I can't express how busy Sam was when I approached him. So basically, long story short, I had a very famous celebrity British chef who was going to do the forward. He's a friend of mine. I've known him for a few years, and I asked him the last time I seen him in October, would he write the forward for my book? And that was fine. Whatever happened between his people and my people, it fell through the cracks. And I got the front cover sent to me, and there was no celebrity chef's name on the cover for the forward. And I messaged back saying, where's the forward from so-and-so? So anyway, a couple of days later, it transpired that the chef was filming out the country, couldn't do anything. And I was in South Carolina at the time. I was doing a Scottish seafood event in South Carolina, and you're working away and you're working with this amazing produce. You're right in the America. I'm thinking, who can I get to do the forward? This was Wednesday. Deadline was Friday. I'm in South Carolina. I'm thinking, what about Sam? So I messaged everyone I know, all my American Scot friends that might know him, who knows Sam, who can get in touch, who's got an email, all that sort of stuff. And minutes really counted here. So a few hours went past, no one got back to us. And I was looking through Twitter and noticed that Sam follows me on Twitter.
Oh.
I thought, you know what? It's not the most professional thing to do, but I'll private message him on Twitter. So I messaged him, and I gave him a background, probably a message far too long, gave him a background of who I was, big fan. The book's arguably written for an American audience. Would he consider doing the forward? And the very next day he got back to me. So he was, I don't know if anybody's seen it, was a few weeks ago. He was doing all the press junkets for Outlander season 6. So he wrote it between coming off Good Morning America and going on to some afternoon show. He signed off the forward and sent it back, and we were half an hour into our deadline on the Friday to get it in. So it was and Sam writing the forward, I couldn't think of anyone better. You know, he showcases Scotland on a world platform like no one else, and I'm trying to do that with the book. So it kind of tied in really well. So I hope he likes it when he gets his copy. He's not even got a copy. Cindy, you got a copy before.
I got a copy, but he doesn't. Oh my goodness.
He might have one now. I signed one last week for him, so hopefully he's got it. But and he doesn't live too far away from me either. I could have put it through his door, but that'd be a bit creepy. But
How wonderful. He's such a nice guy. And you know, on our board is Fran McTavish, and they do Men in Kilts together. They've been out.
Right, yeah, great show.
Two of the nicest guys. I mean, just very down to earth. You can kick back and have a beer with these guys. There's no airs about them.
No, amazing. And just how quick he was at getting back, and actually knowing how busy he was. you're following him through social and watching him on TV, and you're thinking he's live on TV in Good Morning America, and he's coming straight off to sort out a forward for a book for some wee chef in Glasgow that he doesn't even know. So he's I don't think there's a lot of people would have been able to turn that around, and I'm really looking forward to meeting him for the first time, just to thank him personally.
Well, if you want to arrange for him to come to your restaurant at the same time I'm there, I'm coming in August, and I am so excited. I will be in Edinburgh in August, the 14th through the 19th, and I'm going to crash your restaurant with your permission.
Look forward to it.
And I
think the whole of the US is in Edinburgh in August. It's going to be a busy month.
I know it is, most especially this year. Do you know, the Highland Games that I went to last year were attended by 2 to 3 times as many people as had ever been to these games here in the States before.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. They would run out of food and drink because so many people are just so wanting to get out there. I can only imagine, and talking with the Fringe Festival people and the tattoo people, I can only imagine what to expect this August in Edinburgh. But I believe you, it's going to be absolutely mobbed.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
No, I'm looking forward to it. I think Scotland's really looking forward to welcoming people back. But all afternoon, all I've done is I'm writing I've got a couple of Highland Games in the States. So I've got one in Alaska coming soon. I'm doing the Alaskan Highland Games. So I do historical food demonstrations. So I talk about pretty much what I've written in the book. So I've got Alaska coming up in June, and I'm at the Loon, New Hampshire Highland Games in September. And again, I do kind of live demonstrations in front of hundreds of people. So the tie-in with Outlander on my book's going to help the audience figures of both those events, I think.
Wow, that's going to be phenomenal. I'm going to try to make it to New Hampshire. I'll try to make it to Alaska as well. It might be a little sketchy, but let us know.
New Hampshire Games are amazing. I've never seen anything like it. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. And the numbers are huge. And obviously the location in New England and is just stunning. So I really look forward to it. It's one of my favorite weekends of the year.
Oh, we should go there and try it. I've never been before. We like to go to, and of course, our media share partners here at Scott Week are Stone Mountain Highland Games, the Victoria Highland Games, just outside of Vancouver, and the Seaside Highland Games and the Costa Mesa or Scottish Fest Highland Games are our big media share partners. And we have some more, we want to expand that. So we must come and check out New Hampshire. I'm intrigued now, and I would love to be able to see your presentation in person of this beautiful book. It truly is stunning. It is a must-have book, whether you collect cookbooks or not, whether you collect books about Scotland and history. This is as much endearing to Scottish culture and history as it is an amazing cookbook with the recipes about the food. I'm so excited going to be doing at least once a month, cooking a recipe in here and showing our audiences and doing the best that I can. I know I won't probably do justice like you do, but I'm going to do the best that I can and invite you to do it with me if you have the time. And I know that you're very busy, so no pressure.
Just let me know.
Okay.
I would love to see it.
That will be great fun. And then we can't wait to be with you in August. And so I want the viewers to know that we will be going to your restaurant. I'll do some footage there so they can see what that's like in person, if that's okay with you, and send it back to our YouTube channel. So I'm going to put in the descriptions all the links for everything, your Twitter account. Everyone needs to follow you on your Twitter account, most especially because that's where they're going to be able to find how to buy this amazing book, right?
Yeah.
And also your website, and just check back in with you. You're always doing exciting things. You're such a positive person. We're so honored to have you on as part of Scott Week, and so honored to have you as a friend, Gary.
Thanks for having us. It's been absolutely brilliant. And thanks for the book plug. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's my great pleasure. And thank you so much for the book. I was so happy to get this. I can't even tell you. Gary, thank you. Thanks for being on with us.
Bye, guys.